Test one more. Yep, you're good.
All right, looks like we've settled down. I'm so excited to, maybe I can come onto the stage. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to Rooted and Rising today. We're going to start with an amazing opener, a great friend. I don't know if you guys like the K-pop group aespa or not, but my favorite member is Karina, who will be reading us her poetry today.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. And it is so nice to see all of you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here today. These are a few pieces about what it means to be human and to come back home to ourselves. Brain fires. There's a fire burning in your heart, in your soul, in your mind. Quell the one in your mind so you can magnify the one in your heart. Your brain has been worrying too fast, worrying about silly nothings, scared to die, yet not actually living. We all have a terminus, an end to this current corporeal existence. Do not worry about the end. Just live in this present moment. This one, not the one in your head pondering the future. If you only look at the mountaintop while you raise the head on the trails, you will trip on the rocks at your feet. Bruised and battered, you'll pick yourself up just to blindly run to your destination. Slow down into your present. Tread softly, actually seeing the little pebbles, the white daisies on the wayside. Then, and only then, are you actually living, actually here. Thank your overworked mind. Let it relax off the treadmill, hop into the hot tub, and soothe itself. There is nothing to fear, nothing you are missing. You have everything you need, right here, right now. You are here. You are here. You are here. You are breathing, hearing these words, loving a little more with every heartbeat. You, my friend, are enough. You have always been enough. Just continue to breathe, and with every breath, send a little more love into this world. Open your heart, let your head rest, and receive the soothing elixir of life. This one is called Super/Human. Sometimes it feels harder to be human than superhuman, to feel our rawness and vulnerability. Instead of the armor, strength, or resilience that keeps us protected and charging forward. When we feel superhuman, we're one step ahead of our thoughts or feelings, of being with ourselves, in go mode, in do versus be mode. When we feel human, we have to be present, slowing down, taking off our super shield. We feel defenseless, nothing covering our skin, no veils of protection. But being human, as uncomfortable as it can feel, is our natural state. It's why we chose to experience life in these physical vessels. We can only be super for so long. Then we must come back to being ourselves, to experience and grow from a vulnerable place where we feel the discomfort of pushing past old edges. We connect with one another when we are human in our rawness, not when we're superhuman. So when you are feeling extra human, utterly human, remember it's why you came to Earth, to be human. We're called human beings, so we're doing just that, being human. This one is called Ice Skater. You stand on ice, feet laced up in leather ice skates. You lift your foot to examine the fine blade with the jagged ridges at the end. Satisfied, you glide forward effortlessly, arms floating at your sides. This is not your first time on the lake, nor will it be your last. A light breeze tingles along your arms, cloaking you in a cool, wispy silver shawl, just the perfect temperature for skating. You know this lake well, every inch, every groove, like your back jeans pocket. The shades of the pine trees paint the ice in shades of gray and blue, outlining pointy mountain ridges on the glassy white surface. You haven't hiked a mountain in a while. You've stayed near what you know, near the comfort of the ice that predictably shifts its form from season to season. You prefer the ice, water transformations over air ones, leaves turning from green to red, orange to crackling, dead, withered brown. Maybe you should hike a mountain sometime. Expand the map in the corners of your mind, sketching new contours and edges into your memory. But what if you get lost? Oh, darling, no. That's where the fun begins. That's where you find yourself. The atlas of our minds. We constantly etch the geography of our minds, expanding into new corners and grooves, exploring crevices and ravines that we didn't know were there. We think our atlas is permanently etched, but our mental terrain, our brain's tectonic plates, continuously shift, lift, and coalesce. When an earthquake happens, one that rumbles our personal beliefs, that is the perfect time to pioneer into new lands. Rather than cower in a corner of our minds, clinging to the old rubble, we can charge ahead to seek fresh vantage points, to observe the novel landscape. Curiosity leads us into a new reality, one that could entirely upend our prior ecosystem. From flat to round, our world has shape, depth, polarities. One's north is south, one's summer is winter. When we hit a rut, we can flip our mental globe upside down, gaining a fresh perspective, a new opportunity to move forward. This constant reevaluation helps us refresh our mental model from outdated maps, ancient perspectives that must fall away like a snake's desiccated old husk. From there, we can explore our new world with open eyes, open minds, and open hearts, ready to sketch in the next frontier. And this final one is called mirror. Mirror. I am a mirror for you, just as you are a mirror for me. I am held and can hold. I am seen and can see. I am heard and can hear. I am felt and can feel. My emotions are my own, and yet are one and the same as yours. My heart, while housed in my body, is threaded to yours, inseparable in spite of space and time. Our hearts beat as one, our breaths as one, our thoughts as one, our purpose as one, to love and be loved. We create separation, differentiation from one another out of fear, that we are not enough, that we cannot be loved, that we do not deserve to be on this physical plane. We have forgotten our true selves, our highest selves, that we can only be loved because we intrinsically are just that, love. It is not about being worthy or deserving. It is within us innately, residing in every cell of our being, flowing as naturally as the oxygen that glides in and out of our lungs. We have just forgotten. Thus, I am here to remind you of your true self in your fullness, in your glory, in your wholeness. I must reflect back to you the essence of your being, which is the essence of mine. Love, love, love. You are love. Only love. Completely love. Forever love.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Karina. All right, I'm gonna have to apologize. I have to hold my notes. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to Rooted and Right today. Today will be okay. Question in May. What does May represent? Any answers? Yes, that's one. There's two more. I think the hints are on the screen. Yes, Mental Health Awareness Month. The last one, which I think people probably know the least about, has to do with business. Shout out to my business team in the back.
Entrepreneurship.
It's National Small Business Month, and this week is actually National Small Business Week. So if you've been seeing a lot of small business, like curated events this particular week, that's why I know your answer. So today, where do I start? I think we still getting mic'd up. She's mic'd up. Perfect. Okay, then I'll pass it off to our venue for a few words to the amazing Vic Wu.
Okay. Hi, everyone. How's it going? So my name is Vic Wu. I'm the Senior Director of the San Francisco Hub. How many of you actually know what INSEAD is? Okay. Are you an alum? Yes. Excellent. So for those of you who don't know who we are, we were founded in 1957, and four campuses. You're an alum? No. Was there started the Singapore campus, and 20 years ago we started celebrated 5 years. engage with us, click, yes. If you want to come back to some of the other events, this QR code, and you'll be added to our newsletter. We engage this space from many different types of learning in many different modalities. As a matter of fact, this event is the second year in a row that we are collaborating with the team here. We do a lot of community building. So let us know how we can help with your community. And without further ado, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Riddick. So a little bit about who I am. You guys are probably like, who the heck is she talking on stage? So my name is Kimberly. I'm the Advocacy Project Manager at Asian Inc. And Asian Inc. is a nonprofit here in the city. We've been around 55 years this year, originally founded for the affordable housing cause in the 70s. So I'm expanding into housing counseling, small business technical assistance, shout out to my team again, and advocacy. And we get to put on cool events like this, which is super nice. And let me pass it over to Jimmy, and he might actually call me out for not explaining better what Asian Inc. does.
Now I feel like I need to call her out on that. So hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy. You'll hear a little bit more about me in a bit later because I'm one of the moderators. But first and foremost, thank you for everyone here who's attending in person. We do have a live stream on YouTube, so thank you for those who are actually logged in. I am the founder and the co-executive director of Asian Leaders Alliance. We are not a nonprofit. We are not a for-profit. We are literally a community. We have two core values. One, a community for our bigger community. ERG leaders, organization leaders, nonprofits, individuals to come together on platforms such as Slack, et cetera, to learn from each other, share, complain about the stuff we have to deal with every day, some of the bigger things that we have to deal with. It's a place for us to come together. The second thing that we do is collective impact. And what that means is that we don't do things alone. We may be different people, we may be different communities, we may be different organizations, but in order to uplift all our communities, we must come together and work together and find opportunities for our organizations to do that collective impact. And this is one of those events that is an example of that. Asian Inc., a little bit of call out to Kim. Asian Inc. is a great organization here in the Bay Area that she was talking about. They, to me, are an organization that helps Asians and minority communities to obtain the American dream, to get a house, to find a business, to survive and do what a lot of our families came here to America to do. ALA, Asian Hustle Network, a few others, we came together not to try to monetize this. It's really to actually bring our communities together and uplift them and create opportunity. And that's what ALA is. So if you have a chance, come go to our website, asianleadersalliance.com. We have a Slack workspace, everything's free. We actually right now represent over 1,200 corporate API ERGs, companies like Salesforce, Google, Chevron, HSBC Bank, numerous others. We also have over 150 nonprofits, and we're actually global. So 30% of our members are here in the Bay Area, but we have in New York, Seattle, Vancouver, some folks in London, I think one person in Singapore that used to be on our leadership team. That's what we are here to do, is just bring communities together and find opportunities. So thank you very much, and I will hand this back over to Kim while she's in the middle of trying to brief somebody.
You caught me. Okay, the next org is Asian Hustle Network. They're an amazing org. Unfortunately, they cannot be with us here today. They were part of the planning process. Our amazing Brian Pang is actually kind of in transit into Gold House Gala this weekend in LA. But Asian Hustle Network, an amazing organization that has brought together community, putting amazing events on across the world. You guys probably have seen them on your social media with, I don't even know, they have like such a huge presence and they do an amazing job. So shout out to their team. And then next I want to introduce Naomi to talk about Annie's Health, our other partner. Good to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Hi, everyone. It is really nice to be here. My name is Naomi. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and also one of the clinical supervisors at Anise Health. So we are a telehealth platform aimed at serving the Asian community. This company was built by two Asian women who were just really tired of running into challenges, looking for mental health care that fit for them. And so, Asian Americans are unfortunately consistently the ethnic group in the United States that is least likely to access mental health care services. And I really believe that Anise Health is doing so much to bridge that gap. So we focus on gathering an amazing team of culturally attuned clinicians. We do training, we do outreach and advocacy. And in the name of accessibility, we also accept insurance. So we take Optum, Anthem, and Aetna. And we also have affordable self-pay rates for people who don't fall under those plans. And so for Anise Health, I really encourage you to check us out if you would like to. Let's see, you can scan the QR code right over there as a thank you for everybody for being here. We also have postcards over there that have a 50% off code for your first intake session, as well as some very cute stickers. I would highly recommend you take a look. And so for the intake form, it takes less than 5 minutes to fill it out. You get matched with a therapist on the spot, and you can even book your first intake session right there. So thanks again for being here, and hopefully we see you on the platform.
Thank you so much. I'd love to introduce my reminders. Shout out to our food. Thank you, Jimmy, for letting me know that I am not stream. Just do note, everyone. For as well as to our vendors who are in the back, who are absolutely amazing. You'll go ahead, shop to your heart's content, eat. I think I'm probably gonna get something from everyone. So shout out to Elevated Gemstones, Jing Candle Co., Oasis, Olivia's Tonghulu, and Tirana Before. Thank you so much for joining us. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce our keynote of Jason Ma, founder, CEO, chief mentor of 3EQ. Let him speak for himself because he's such an amazing, inspirational speaker.
Thank you, Kimberly. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. Kimberly, Ramon, and Jimmy and team, you guys done an amazing job orchestrating this. And how about a round of applause for them? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, okay? My appreciation. And Vic, thank you for hosting. I remember I gave a couple of guest lectures in your INSEAD Singapore campus about 2 decades ago, probably when you guys were babies, right? Well, no, my talk here is, I have 10 minutes. I hope to give you something practical and hopefully a little bit inspirational as well. Imagine a vision that your main competition is really your future best self. How's that? Your future best self is your key competition. And you want to become more and more like that. And I would not encourage for people to compare yourself to other people, or envy, jealousy. Those are the devil's game. Don't play the devil's game. Don't do that, okay? So imagine a vision that we're all here supporting each other to what we can. And of course, focus on your work, focus on your school, if you're still in school, on your family, community, and have a good heart to do so, okay? I grew up in San Francisco, so it's always a pleasure to be back here. I live in the South Bay. I was born and raised, I was born in Hong Kong, moved over here as an immigrant. When I first came here at age 11, no English is all learned. And I grew up in an era absolutely way before most of you guys were born. How's that? I'm that old. I'm 1,000 years old. My daughters, 2 girls, are 29 and 25, both in big tech, both live in New York City, and happy, compassionate kids. That's it, happy, compassionate people who are really contributing, making an impact and growing. That's what I want you to become, okay? I know, it's as Asians, right? You know, perfectionism sometimes. Don't disappoint your parents, right? Sometimes when you're struggling, you have to kind of go to the corner or kind of struggle quietly. You could do some of that, but you don't have to do that per se. And what I want you to really, you know, I want you to think in terms of what can you do to improve your own operating system in your heart, mind, and soul. How's that? Your operating system in your heart, mind, and soul. Also your physiology, okay? We all are emotional beings, right? Emotion is an instant effect of your belief system, your self-talk, and also your physiology, your biochemistry. You could totally control that, okay? And you know, some of the common struggles I see as well with, I mean, not just Asian American, with a lot of people. And young people are kind of packed with anxiety sometimes, right? High anxiety, stress. And one encouragement is not to think less of yourself, but think about yourself less. How's that? Got it? You see the difference? It's not thinking less of yourself, think about yourself less. Focus more on contributing and growing. You're in it for them while you're going to be also improving and growing. Okay? What other fallacy that I see? I've mentored a couple of hundred, a lot of high achievers, teenagers, 20-something, even up to 60-something-year-olds, right? Asian Americans, Caucasian, Jewish, Muslim, you name it. I've mentored quite a bit. I've seen quite a bit. Entrepreneurs, so Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, boomers, believe it or not, I'm actually a tail end boomer. I'm 1,000 years old. But my energy, I joke with some of my Gen Z students, is that how come Mr. Miles got more energy than you? You know? It's my love, right? It's my love. I love you first. That's the most important thing. One more don't. It's good to move away from don'ts, right? So in your operating system, think about your belief system. It's the most important thing. Your belief system. What limiting beliefs do you have that you could hone to replace over time? In my own one-on-one private mentoring coaching practice, I have this framework that I've honed after 20,000 hours of practice, right? You know, coaching, mentoring, writing, speaking, and applied research. You know, kind of Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hour rule. Once you spend 10,000 focus on a practice, you kind of become a bit more expert. I've been doing that for over 20,000 hours. So kind of got it down to a science. What I've learned is that in my own mentorship framework, it's called 4S and 3EQ. What that means is something that you could kind of, it's good to have a framework, right? Visionary story. Your story is your belief system. And also the world in your head, okay, in your heart, the world around you is your, you know, how do you see the world, right? And also your character. Guess what? Your character absolutely matters. Character is a sum of all habits and choices. It's a sum of all habits and choices. Let's think, okay? I still got some bad habits. I'm not perfect. Jason Ma, the award-winning chief mentor, I'm still flawed. I'm still imperfect, but it's okay. Even at my age, I'm growing all the time. I pray to the Lord to improve me, to correct me on a daily basis. Okay, but practical humility is very important. So think about the great habits that we have, keep that. Good habits, keep that, maybe improve it even more. Bad habits, Ro, be honest, what are the bad habits that you could probably replace over time, work on that, get some help if possible, okay? So your visionary story, it's kind of like making a movie, right? Making a movie is about characters, the story, and production, isn't it? If the character is not interesting or not interesting, the story is kind of boring. The storytelling is kind of boring, and the production value is not very high. You're not going to make a blockbuster, man. It's that simple. You're not going to make a couple $100 million or more movie revenue, blockbuster. Okay. So think about what can we do to improve our own character, our own story within our head and our heart. Okay, while I also coach my students, by the way, in addition to story and all that, like sleep, diet, fitness, all that really matters. Okay, the second S in the 4S model is state. State is really emotional state, mental state of mind management, emotional, mental state of mind management. It starts with a good spirit. okay? And that spirit is very important. I don't have time to talk in depth about what I mean here, but emotional mental state of mind management, especially a lot of kids that go to college still right now in these competitive schools, Ivy League and Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, you know, high anxiety, stress, depression is quite prevalent. You know that. Some of them are even worse, okay? But it's all manageable. It's all manageable, okay? So that is very important. Don't you want to spend more time in happier peak state where you're more productive, you're happier, rather than say spend a lot of time, energy, feeling sorry for yourself, kind of being a victim? Don't do that. Be a victor, you know, and it takes time. I coach my students to do that all the time. Spend more and more time in top or high performing, happier states. Then you get a lot more done with less time, more energy. You have even more time to enjoy yourself, watch a movie, do other hobbies, right? The third S is strategies, okay? Most of you are working, and I would imagine most of you are working, professionals, executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs. Some are probably still in school or both. That's great. So the interconnected strategies, how to succeed, how to grow at your work. I don't have time to go deep in that. That's hyper important. The fourth S is the most important, soft and hard skills, okay? AI is not your competition. The people who use AI more effectively than you might be your competition. Think about that. Use AI to augment your work, but more importantly, it's the soft skills. I got 4 cornerstones, okay? Critical thinking, decision-making, problem solving, 1 cornerstone. We could always improve on that. The second is curiosity, lifelong learning. Third is the communication skills, right? Your one-on-one self-talk, your one-on-one conversation. Learn to be a great questioner. Learn to be more Socratic in conversation. Okay, a lot of Asians are a little bit kind of like that. Don't do that, okay? You want to become more and more diplomatically influential and effective. Think of it that way. We're in America. We're not in other countries, okay? Americans are a little bit different. We are Americans, okay? Don't be shy, but don't be an asshole. Learn to be socially intelligent, okay? Relational intelligence, and I'll talk about it later. So, and communication also include public speaking skills, man. Really hone your public speaking skills. You know, don't be afraid. Go to Toastmasters or whatever, right? You know, listen to a lot of audiobooks, podcasts, and all that. Practice, make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. I used to suck, by the way. I still suck right now speaking. But, you know, you could totally improve that, okay? And writing is very important as well. First person essay writing. Lastly is really I call it collaboration, social, relational skills, right? People skills. To be a great leader, it starts with self-awareness. Are you aware of who you are, what you can improve on? It starts with self-awareness. Relationships, very important. As a leader, whether you are starting out or we're all leaders in some ways, right? And we're also followers in some ways. Great leaders need to have great followers. Sometimes a great leader would be a follower in a project team. You know, that happens as well, correct? So those are the key soft skills. And then lastly is execution ability. The ability to really execute, create, add value in the world, okay? That's my 4S. 3EQ stands for practical, emotional, social, and leadership intelligence. Think about that. Think about, hey, emotion is an instant effect, like I said, instant effect of your beliefs, your self-talk, and your physiology. Fitness, sleep, all that affect your physiology. Drugs, stay away from that. You know, some booze could kind of, you know. And I say social intelligence, relational intelligence is hyper important. Because, you know, you got to be able to relate to people. See, one of the East Asian cultures is that don't stand out so much, right? You know, follow the boss in China, or in Japan, it's the last man standing. But, you know, in America, you want to be practical and influential. It's a different culture, okay? We are Americans, once again. And then lastly, it's, you know, social relational intelligence. Lastly, is leadership intelligence. To be a leader or growing to be a leader, I'm always growing myself, even though I'm the chief mentor of next-gen leaders in a number of circles. I'm always growing and learning. Leadership, being a leader is more impactful. You can even make more money as well. What's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with that, right? So practical pragmatic, results-oriented, and also outcome-focused. So I want you to kind of instill this framework into your heart, mind, and soul. If you'd like to talk to me for more, please feel free to reach out to me. I've written so much about it. I've spoken so much about it, videos, articles, posts. Feel free to go to my family business website, 3eq.com. You learn quite a bit more. THREEQ.com, and you'll learn quite a bit more. And when you LinkedIn me, one practical advice, don't just click connect, okay? Always add a note, say that we met at Rooted and Rising, AAPI, SF. Why? Then I can search keywords and you pop up. Otherwise, you're not gonna pop up. The older you get, don't be surprised that you might have hundreds of mutual connections. Okay, young people go, oh my God, 20 mutual connections. But older you get, you're gonna have a lot of mutual connections. You wanna be remembered by me and vice versa, correct? So it's good to be visionary, strategic, pragmatic, tactical, good-hearted. With that, I wrap my talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, hi everybody. I'm Cherry Aslarona, and we are going to get started with our first panel. I am a licensed psychotherapist and founder of Reignited Counseling and Wellness. I'm so honored today to moderate the first panel in redefining success and mental health in AAPI community. My practice as a psychotherapist, I work with folks with trauma, burnout, culture-related stress. Many of our communities success, work, sacrifice, and resilience. Come with invisible costs like burnout, stigma around mental health, and systems that don't always and systems. I'm excited to be joined by an incredible group of speakers.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you all. I'm Chris, short for Crystal. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Shimmer. We're an ADHD behavioral support platform, so we offer one-on-one coaching, community services like body doubling, which is a fancy word for co-working for ADHDers, and a newly launched one-on-one support tool called Indie. And my perspective here, I will be talking about my lived experience with ADHD, founding a company, while minimizing burnout, and just working with, now we've done over 100,000 sessions of ADHD coaching, so also representing some of the perspectives of our members here.
Hello, I'm Bernie Wong. Most recently, I was on the founding team with my shared partners. We are a nonprofit building the national movement for workforce mental health. We did this through training and consulting for employers around how to create mentally healthy workplaces and a whole portfolio of advocacy and education in pursuit of workplace mental health. So I'm here to bring a lens obviously around mental health, but also how do we create environments and cultures and systems that enable people to live happy and healthy lives.
Hello again. I am Naomi, in case you missed it the first time. I am here on behalf of Anise Health, and my lens, I will be speaking about my clinical experience. I specialize in working with children of immigrants, especially Asian Americans, also a lot of folks with ADHD, as well as creatives.
Awesome, thank you all. As you can see, we will be hearing different levels from the individual perspective, cultural healing, and workplace systems. So let's start at the individual level and identify the entrepreneurial success.
Well, I would say that that's usually the point at which I see them in my Zoom room for therapy. I find this really common with my Asian American clients specifically, where they follow the rules. And so a lot of times this comes with burnout as well. So there are a lot of impacts to sleep. Find yourself start getting irritable, but for no reason. My clients also a lot of times know why they're doing this. Those external motivations that used to be so just and they often start to say things like they feel like they're stuck on a hamster wheel. The phrase "golden handcuffs" comes up a lot. Also things like they don't feel like they're in the driver's seat of their own lives. And so I see a lot of that.
Thank you. And I'm curious if you can elaborate too, how does guilt, shame, perfectionism, or people pleasing become mistaken for responsibility or ambition?
So we could probably have a whole panel on that question alone. Okay, guilt, shame, perfectionism, people pleasing. I think a really big challenge is the dissonance between what people hear on the outside versus what they experience on the inside. So unfortunately, there are a lot of stories, a lot of patterns that get reinforced by external stressors. So for example, we're in the Bay Area, it's all about like hustling, right? The hustle, the grind, it's like a badge of honor how little sleep that you got and how much you could accomplish on that little sleep. Sometimes your family will reward and reinforce this idea of sacrifice, of like giving up everything. And so I find that even though things might look really successful on the surface, on the inside, there's just something wrong. And usually that's where the shame, guilt, all that comes in.
Thank you. I feel like I can sense like that you're focusing on the internal motivation, not around success. So thanks for sharing. Crystal, I want to build on that. I'm curious to know, I imagine that this can be especially complicated for adults with ADHD who may have spent years masking or overcompensating. What do high-achieving adults with ADHD often misunderstand?
First, it would be helpful is to know who's in the room, so I don't like which one of you guys had ADHD? Want to raise your hand? Which one of you guys has like a family member or kid? Okay, this is like a little okay, so the question kind of story or background on I could get 100% in anything, but I would always cram the night before and I wouldn't sleep. And I've heard this story time after time with ADHDers and high achieving ADHDers, and you just destroy yourself over the thing that basically you're like, well, just keep 100%. And then you go home and your parents, you hear your friends' parents talk about how they got 80, 70%, whatever it is, and you're just wondering why the standards are so different for you. And you just get really good at performing this thing that you're expected to do, which is getting 100%. And then after you go to school, you go to university, and then you are expected to get a good job. And then, so I went into consulting because it was a good job. I was supposed to go into finance, and I didn't. I got the second best job that was put in front of me. And then I got really good at performing. There was this criteria sheet, and there was this highest mark that you can get across problem solving, across client relations, whatever it is. There was this criteria sheet, and I got really good at that criteria sheet. And we hear from our clients time after time that that is also what they got good at. And then when I quit consulting because I wasn't happy, probably similar to a lot of your patients, is I had no clue what I was supposed to do when I didn't have a criteria sheet anymore. I had been masking for so long. I'd been performing this thing for so long that I was like, now what? And so that was around the time that I got my ADHD diagnosis. And I met so many people who had the exact same, in slightly different flavors, story as me. And through many years now of coaching and through working with other ADHD clients, I have realized that and seen time after time that there's kind of two main effects. There's one, which is the masking. And you mask so long, you do this chameleon thing where you get really good at performing all the things that you're supposed to do, that you never stop and question what you actually want, and then that burns you out. It completely burns you out because all you're doing is performing and you don't have any of you underneath. And the other thing is that you get so good at doing this one specific thing that when you actually go out and live the life that you want, you have no skills. Like, you don't know how to do things when there isn't a criteria sheet. So I need to learn again.
Thank you so much. That actually leads into the second question of there's the impact of now having that just goes to you. I'm wondering what changed for you when you began to study ADHD, but also if there's
So many of my strengths now, I actually used to think that there were just things that were wrong with me. Like when I was a kid, I would always be told like, stop talking so loud and running around and being so annoying and all this stuff. And like now I'm like sitting here and I'm talking and I'm yapping in front of all of you guys and it's my job. And so there's so many examples like this, and like my running around, my energy, all these things, like I was told my whole life to shut these things down, and so I never knew that they were my strengths. And because they were told that they were the things that were wrong with me. And actually, ADHD kids have 20,000 more negative messages that they've heard by the time that they're age 10 than neurotypical kids, which is insane. And if you think about like within those things, how many things are probably burgeoning strengths that could be things that they'd be known for, and they just got shut down really early. So I think to answer your question, once I started working with a strength-based approach, and that actually started pre-ADHD diagnosis when I worked at Bain. There are many things that burnt me out about that job, but one thing that I really did love is that they did take a strength-based approach, and they had this concept called inspirational leadership, where they studied all of the various strengths that make you an inspiring leader, and then they put them on, you have these little rocks, and so you have like 4 rocks of your leadership skills, and then they're yours, and you work with them. And the concept behind it is that as a leader, and as you create your career, you're gonna be known for the things that you're strong at. You're not gonna be known at not being organized or all these other weaknesses. And if you don't focus on your strengths, which is the whole foundation of what we do at Shimmer, but if you don't focus on your strengths, then you won't be known for them because everyone else who's doing that is going to get ahead of you. So I think one thing that's common with ADHDers, neurodivergent folks, and Asians as well is that we do focus a lot on the things that we're not good at because we want to just get full marks on everything. So when we get like that 80, and you ignore the things that you're at 100 and instead make those things like 120 and then you become super.
Naomi, I'm actually curious in regards to that ADHD or neurodivergent but also not making people so kind of holding both reality and this is something else.
Yeah, well, I also take a very strengths-based approach. I enjoy more. So there are a lot of different kinds of brains, and then our dominant society is built for which we now call neurotypical. Like broken, it's not built for you. A tropical plant dying in a desert. It's just not the right environment. There's not the right supports, the nutrients, the resources. And I really emphasize this framework with my clients, let them know that there is a world that maybe exists somewhere that would be really, really supportive of them and can turn them into that supernova. And so this self-acceptance and self-compassion is really the foundation of all of my clinical work, because once you start working on that, then we get to the place where you can learn to work with your brain instead of against it. So instead of trying to turn yourself into a neurotypical person, which is I'm sorry, just never gonna happen. But can you work with the brain that you do have and really lean into those strengths and really just grow in the ways that can be really, really phenomenal for you?
Thank you. So now that we've seen it from an internal and clinical lens, I'm curious more on a systems level. So Bernie, how does this neurodiversity lens need to show up beyond individual coping skills, say at the workplace, at the policy or advocacy level?
Yeah, I think maybe to continue, Naomi, your train of thought, I think a lot of us end up building this sense of brokenness because the world around us wasn't necessarily built to be inclusive of neurodivergent folks or many marginalized populations. And so I think it's always a necessary practice to, yes, kind of engage individuals in the support and coaching that they need, and turn outwards to kind of really interrogate the broader world and systems to understand why are they built this way? Why are we seeing disparate outcomes across different marginalized populations as a result of kind of our built systems, because systems are built. Kind of people come together and decide how a team is resourced, how to and oftentimes and historically, they are not built to be inclusive of all people. Again, the systems lens allows us to kind of create more inclusive systems, and by only focusing on individuals, we run two risks. One is you're equipping individuals to fight reinforcing that system as static. We know that these systems are malleable. So that isn't to say that systems change is more important than individuals, because we achieve systems change through a collective effort. So events like this, where you're convening individuals as individual change makers and inspiring them to create those better and more inclusive systems.
And if we can continue more on the systems level, I know you emphasize mental health at work is not just about individual wellness tips, it's about shaping that out of workplace policy, legislation, DEI, so diversity and inclusion, public advocacy, and institutional trust. How do workplace systems and policies shape individual mental health, especially for AAPI, neurodivergent, and LGBTQ+, immigrants, and otherwise marginalized professionals?
Yeah, what a super fun and lighthearted question. I mean, I think we live in a world today where things do feel like they're getting harder for a lot of working class Americans. I think I've had the luxury of spending the past decade at Mindshare Partners and seeing an immense growth and evolution in our health space, where it's incredibly normal, I'd say, to talk about how you're doing, even to our kind of deepest and most challenging experiences around mental health. And coinciding with that, I think work for many people has just gotten harder. We're kind of reading about layoffs happening every other week kind of thing, and standard business practices like at-will employment and scaling back flexibility policies and return to office mandates and not investing in DEI anymore. These are things that are emerging in the past even 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And so for a lot of people, work is becoming more precarious, is the word if you look in the scientific literature around. Just work is more unstable and more intense. You can lose your job at any moment's notice. And historically marginalized populations, which include neurodiverse folks and API folks, are the ones who are disproportionately impacted by the swings of the economy and job displacement. Where historically, if they're not getting that support within the workplace, there are programs like Medicaid and SNAP and other social safety nets that people can rely on. And those programs are facing both at the national and even here in San Francisco. And so as a result of not just work becoming more unstable, but there's less programs finances, around employment, around physical and mental health outcomes, because in the intersection of health and workplace, most of us rely on for access to health care benefits.
I think, okay, so a couple of things, and I'm only supposed to say one. Being able to communicate what you need from your team members through outcomes and not process. And because people with ADHD are going to achieve a completely different way than you think you're going to achieve it. And their way might be better, it might be worse, but they need the bar, the outcome, to be able to know if it was better or worse. And they also need the space, because if they just follow your process, one, they have no ownership over the actual results, so they're probably not going to try as hard. And then two, they're probably not doing it the best way for them. Like an example I have is when I was at Bain, I used to push forward like 4 projects at a time, and I knew that they were all due on, let's say, Friday. And my manager would get driven insane because she would be like, oh, she'd come on like Tuesday, and she'd be like, 1 out of 4 days have passed. Like, have you finished 1 out of 4 of the projects? I was like, no, why, what, like, no, you told me you needed this by Friday, it'll be done by Friday. And so I need novelty, and so I will work on 4 things in a day, and that's the best way it works for me. And unless there's some constraint that you actually need it on Tuesday, then tell me beforehand. And so by saying, okay, we need these 5 things done on Friday, this is what good looks like, then I have the space to be able to do it, and you will definitely get a better result from them because they have ownership over the process and the results. And that also will be able to create more leaders in your organization instead of people who are still just trying to do the check boxes and like fill the criteria sheet so that they can just get to the next level. And that's the type of organizations that you want to create right now anyways, especially like in the keynote speaker, that when AI is here, we need the connection, the people, like all the lateral, nonlinear thinking that ADHDers are really good at, but also you need to create the right environment if you're managing organizations for them to be able to have that come out of them.
Thank you. I think this actually then leads to the next question about defining success, because I feel like it's different for everybody, that the outcomes can still be produced. So I'm curious, as we navigate to we've explored the internal experience, neurodiversity,
So the first question I would ask myself is there a should? There a should. The second question, there's always some nuance, but I think a good guiding question is there something that you are trying to move towards? So something that's like a feeling that's something like that. I will say there are very good times where listening to fear is appropriate, but I think it's a good chance to check, right? Are you moving towards something or trying to move away?
Thank you. Chris, how about what is one ADHD-friendly system people can use to pursue ambition without burning out?
The entire coaching system is just like a large system, but I think that one concept that I think is a really great one is the concept of existential productivity. And it basically means like instead of doing more and more and more for the sake of doing more and more, you are trying to be productive towards what really matters to you in your life. And it is shocking like how little people, myself included, have really thought about it, because even people who come to our coaching, they're always like, I just want to be more productive. Like, how do I produce more in a smaller unit amount of time so that I can get promoted or whatever it is? And existential productivity kind of flips it on its head, which is like, okay, well, like what matters to you? And in our clients, we often see people like, we do this exercise, it's called the eulogy exercise, and you write your eulogy as if you have passed, you're 80, 90, 100 years old, whatever it is, and you write about like what other people in your life, like who is there and what are they saying about you? And they never say that you're productive. They're always like, oh, you're like a great, I don't know, CEO that made an impact on the world. You're a great mom, you're a great friend, you're great. family member, whatever it is, and then you work backwards from that. Like, how can you productively, since I know we're all Asian, we like productivity, we like efficiency, and how do you like work productively towards that so that on a process-based approach, you know that every day you're doing things that matter to you, but also on an outcome-based approach, you're getting to somewhere that actually matters to you, and that's really important. Given to you by your culture, your parents, and sometimes even like what you think your parents want. I think that's another thing I've uncovered recently as I become an adult and talk to my parents. They're like, no, we actually didn't want that for you. And I'm like, I just thought you wanted me to do that. And so there's a lot of stories we tell ourselves as well on top of what is expected of us, but what we think people expect of us.
Bernie, from advocacy lens, what does success look like when you do collective care?
Yeah, I think it's important to first understand what that traditional definition of success is and was. And even today, when we look to who are the most quote unquote successful businesses and leaders, it's typically equated to the accumulation of wealth, power, and capital. There isn't room for collective care or workplace responsibility because we have to go faster, we have to break things, we have to innovate. That definition of success and moving away from it because they're seeing kind of the real costs of that pursuit of success, which is the cost to the organizations of people, to the natural environment, and to local communities. And I think those three dimensions are perhaps, as we're looking towards a new definition of success, what is my impact as a leader or a business on my own people, on the natural environment, and to local communities. And so you can achieve this success as a fortune, whatever, and you could achieve this definition of success as a small neighborhood, family-owned mom-and-pop shop, because it's about impact and making a positive impact. Yes, in terms of your business and maybe revenue goals, but also the means by which you achieve that success and the impact that you have, again, on your own people, the environment.
Thank you so much. I feel like this question was very rich, actually, because it ties in again with the values-based living, so thank you. We do actually now have time for question and answers from the audience. So we actually have a good amount before we actually do close with one last thing from our panelists. So I'm moving it to the audience. If there's any questions, feel free to raise your hand. It could be to one panelist or to all. Yes. I think, well, the mic go there? Or? Okay, yes. I think we'll hand the mic to you. Yeah.
Can you hear me, everyone? First, thank you so much. Thank you for great time and for everything you shared with us. So I have a very overachiever.
Oh, I think it's I would say that overachieving is probably more a behavior versus ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition. So chemistry, and so ADHD, for those of you who don't know, so the kid who's bouncing off of walls is the brain's moving really quickly. Or the person who can't follow the conversation because people who have definition. There can definitely be underachievers, medium achievers, and higher achievers within ADHD. But I think the reason why there is such a high overlap and what we hear in a lot of our members as well is because ADHD has made life so hard for them that they've needed to overcompensate, they've needed to mask, they've needed to hide so much of them and prove that they're okay or that they can do something. And I think that's where the overlap might come from. That's not like a clinical definition of where it comes from, but we do see that behavior and that overlap driven by a lot of it, but yeah, it's not the same thing. I don't know, you might have a better answer than I do. I kind of just went off.
Yeah, I think I see it similarly, where overachieving is often a pattern of behavior that is driven by some unmet emotional need. Whereas ADHD, as Chris said, is more of a neurotype. It's like our brain is structured and what you're born with. I will say, I also want to talk about intersectionality too, because there are a lot of folks who might be neurodiverse, might also be a person of color, might have grown up low income, so on and so forth. And a lot of times when you sit at these intersections of marginalized identities, it actually perpetuates that pattern of overachieving. For whatever reason, right? Maybe you're trying to pull your family out of poverty, maybe you're trying to make up for a lifetime of feeling behind. But there's, yeah, it's a big Venn diagram overlap.
Thank you.
I've got a related question. So I was diagnosed with ADHD, but I don't have the hyperactivity, so it was not spotted until I was much older. But I had the same patterns of like overachieving, during last minute, cramming for tests, thinking the tests are like a measure of my self-worth, and concentrating super hard last minute to get the highest grades, achieve the highest thing, prove my worth, whatever. So I did not feel like myself, so I stopped doing the drugs. What are some ways to cope with ADD without using drugs, chemicals? That's my question.
Do you?
So to repeat, I believe there are some other ways to without using medication. What that means, the official name for ADD was changed to include the H, I think sometime in the 80s or 90s, and so that's sort of just like an arbitrary name change in the criteria. So in terms of concrete tactics, I would say it is really, really important to have things be in front of your kids. They need to be concrete. And then the next most important thing is to break it down into small, achievable steps. Again, people with ADHD have this lifetime of being told, like, they're not good enough, they can't do it, and so it's really easy to get discouraged. And so by breaking it into small steps, if it feels scary, that step might not be small enough. So even if it seems silly how small it is, sometimes that's just what your brain needs, right? Like we're with your brain instead of against it. And then I think third is really finding some sort of system of positive reinforcement. And so that might look like an actual tangible reward. Like, okay, if I finish this next small step, I get to watch, I don't know, 5 minutes of my favorite show. But positive reinforcement can also be intangible. So things like positive self-talk, as we talked about in the keynote, ways to encourage yourself, ways to be nice to yourself. That also really, really matters with future goals.
I'll just add, so I think without knowing your specific context, in terms of like a high level approach, is the approach that we follow in coaching, but I think it's first to kind of understand like where you are going and like what is in your way that is related to ADHD to you getting there. Because I think a thing that a lot of ADHDers fall into is like they list all the things that they're bad at first, or like all their symptoms, and they try to like fix all of them. And there's a lot of work to fix all of them. Like I have bad memory, I'm probably never gonna have good memory. But if I know that like I struggle with bad memory, remembering people's names, and I need to remember people's names because I need to network, then I'm gonna find strategies for remembering names in networking context. So I think like whether you're working with a coach or by yourself, I think it's just understanding where you're trying to go, what's in the way, and then to your point, like there's systems having. And the content, like the self-guided content out there is also like super infinite. But really taking like a process around it, because you can, like people with ADHD can like live really great lives that just look really different from neurotypicals, and they can be just as happy, if not happier. And it just comes to like designing designing around your life with like a blank slate instead of just doing exactly what, I don't know, works for other neurotypical people.
I can maybe piggyback off that. When I'm thinking about barriers, again, with the self-acceptance, regardless of how silly the barrier feels, if it's a barrier, it's a barrier. So I had a client who really wanted to get up early, and we really went through that process of like, what's getting in the way. And sometimes there's some avoid this task, but sometimes the barrier is actually quite simple. It's that outside, and so he didn't want to have that. And so even though that seems small, what was really important was finding some way of, okay, maybe we just leave a pair of sweatpants in his bed. So while he sleeps, it warms it up, and then in the morning, he gets to just slip on the sweatpants and then hop out.
Genius.
And so, yeah, this combination, I think, of like tactical and then plus the emotional processing can be really useful.
Thank you. I believe we have maybe room for one more question. Yes.
Hi, I'm Erin. I founded Faster, Philippine American DC. We're one of the promotional partners. And nominated, I did not know the next panel has like 3 Filipinos in it, which I'm really proud of. I also have ADHD, and when I asked the organizers if they would have more women, they mentioned Crystal, so I was really happy about that. I have 2 questions, one for Crystal and then one that's just general around shame. I have ADHD, and growing up in Silicon Valley, you have a lot of friends that dropped out of school, founded startups, and it's almost like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, you don't need help because you've achieved. How do you talk about overcoming shame with families? So I only found out in like the last 2 years that my brother also has ADHD, and he said, yeah, that's great, but like don't talk about it. Or if you have, you're applying for a job, then you now have a box that is seen as a disability. So how do you encourage people to want to come out about it when you kind of are like in the closet about it? Like, oh, I don't want people to know because maybe I'll see it as disabled and unable to get a job or unable to like perform. Second question is just for entrepreneurs in general, like how high is the overlap between OCD, ADHD, bipolar disorder, and founders? I know that's really common and broadly entrepreneurship, but I have no idea what the statistics are for AA and HBI communities. And when is it that a founder would go seek help, knowing, or maybe not even self-diagnosing from TikTok, that they actually need mental health support or their ADHD or mental health issues?
I will address the comparison point, and then I think you might be better for the shame and emotion. Down and go through the reflective process of figuring out like what the best version of you is, like what are your goals in the future, what's going to make you happy, what are your values, and then so you have that to fall back on as a comparison point. Then when you see someone else's, you're like, wait a second, I'm not comparing with them, I'm comparing with me. But a lot of the times when we don't go through that process and we don't have what good looks like for us, it's just natural to compare with other people.
Yeah, I think this really comes back to this kind of thing values. I think you know what your values are, and then also give yourself to beautifully well. Then that informs your vision of what kind of world you want to live in, or what kind of world you want to contribute to. And so with shame and stigma are so closely attached, especially in Asian communities, because we don't like talking about our feelings. But if the vision of the world that you want to contribute to involves people being happy and well and connected, then they found that the biggest thing that you can do to combat mental health stigma is actually just to talk about it. So even by just being here today, all of us are already doing our parts to destigmatize mental What if we didn't have to hide it anymore? I think that answers the first part of the question.
I was going to add maybe in navigating the shame piece, 2 things that can be helpful is, again, separating that sense of shame as an individual and the potential mismatch to what the manufactured definition of success is. And once you're able to realize that this manufactured definition of success is based on these outside factors, you can then distance yourself a little bit as less of like my quote unquote inability to succeed is representative of myself than it is the conditions of what we've created as the definition of success. And also similar to what you're saying, I think if everyone operated based on their shame and never shared, like we wouldn't even have this panel. And so maybe another way is to consider who might benefit from hearing my own story. I think everyone benefits from hearing each other's stories. We're all unique and you'll find someone who shares a similar experience.
Thank you so much. Did we answer the second question? Okay. So we are about to close, and I actually really want to just thank everybody in the audience who did. So to close, I'd like to ask each of you for one sentence. What is one thing you hope people will remember?
Crap, I missed this question in the prep thing.
What is one thing you hope people remember?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, it's easier said than done, but I think it's just about like we have the power to define what success is for each one of us, for not for lives and a lot of things. And starting from there, and everything else works backwards from it. I think we get if we want to search up existential productivity, it's back to like existential productivity versus productivity. How do you work backwards to where you want to be, rather than just turning all the wheels faster and faster?
I think I was brought on to talk about systems, which can feel very big and scary. And I think one thing to take away is just to have fun. Like events like this and meeting new people, that's part of creating change that then scales up. So don't get lost in the sauce. I sometimes feel like the conspiracy theory, all the red connected tape together. And remember that you're doing systems change right now by being in community and kind of engaging in platforms like this.
I think what I would like people to take away is to remember that we inherit and we absorb all kinds of stories and patterns of behavior, but it does not mean that you have to hold on to them. You get to decide which ones you want to keep, which values that you want to ground yourself in, what those values look like played out in your life, and also what things you want to just let go of and get rid of because they are
Awesome. So thank you so much for just this engaging conversation. I feel like we've all been able to, I guess, grasp a little bit of what redefining success can look like. I want to thank the audience for being so engaging and just providing such a safe space for us to all speak about this. We will go ahead and take a break for about 15 minutes, I believe, and then we'll go ahead and
Looks like doesn't look like it's 15 minutes.
Nope, never mind.
Okay. Real quick, you guys, I'll let Trevor take care of that. But yes, we are on a quick break with some quick announcements. Shout out to our promotion partners. I do see some in the crowd today, like Eric, who's sitting right here. And feel free to check out that our promotional partners have brought, because these are incredible resources. And for a quick, just another note from UCSF's Asian American cohort study, I wanted to welcome Zinnia to the stage.
Hi, I'll make it quick. I know everyone's ready for a break. My name is Xenia. I'm with UCSF, the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics. We are doing a research study. It's an Asian American cohort study. Asian American health and research is underfunded, understudied, and underrepresented. We are really looking for community to help get the word out. This is a national study, 20,000 Asian Americans we're looking to recruit. There are 4 surveys you do online. We really need support. Thank you guys. We're trying to learn cancer risk and for the Asian community.
Super important, and I think there's so many like other health related issues within our community that I think that should be known, right? So definitely keep an eye out for that. She's passing around some flyers. I hope y'all have a great break. Continue to network. Go shop. Go eat some Tom Hulu in the back. I love Tom Hulu. If you guys don't know what it is, these are like candied sugared fruits. I have a sweet tooth, as you guys can tell. And yeah, see you guys soon.
So if it's not as clear, just to let you all know, in about 10 minutes, we'll resume the panel. And so for those who are online, chill out for 10 minutes while the rest of us enjoy the vendors. Hey, everybody. So how's the networking going? It's so good that you are all still networking at this moment. All right, so I will please ask everyone to slowly disengage with the conversation. We do have a party an after party afterwards where you can continue to network, but we'd like to come back, grab a seat. We'll resume the programming in a few minutes. Man, this is one of those things you can never get an Asian to stop networking. Like they just keep on going. I feel like in a few minutes, I'm gonna start crashing some of the conversations just to get them feel guilty to sit down. So you guys, I know that there's conversations going on, but there's gonna be an awesome panel coming up really soon. So if you all can, please take a seat. All right. So I'm going to kick it off. So as you all heard me earlier, my name is Jimmy Hua, and I am part of Asian Leaders Alliance, and I'm one of the speakers here, and I'm also one of the moderators. And so this is amazing. Talking about serious things. It slowly gets quiet, and people are actually like to take a seat. It's awesome.
Okay. I think.
All right. I think we're getting the social cues. So first and foremost, I want to thank you. One of the people that made all this event happen, and I'm going to give her credit. She's weird about it. Let's give a round of applause for Kim from Asian Inc. that actually is making this all happen. Who actually was a real speaker earlier, and they were sure that keeps us honest. And then also, thanks to all other panel speakers that were on the health panel earlier. All right, so we're going to go on to our next panel, and this panel is about. As you know, with Rooted and Rising. It's always a component about mental health and health because that's really important. If we're not healthy mentally, then it's really hard to get getting done. The other part is typically around career and entrepreneurship, et cetera. So this year, one of the things that we wanted to talk about was not just entrepreneurship and your career and stuff like that. This year, it's been a very interesting year. Excuse me, those in the back, I know that there's a lot of awesome vendors back there. But if you could please quiet down a little bit. So one of the things that we want to talk about in this panel that's really important is that we all come into a point of our lives, whether it's our midlife crisis in our 40s, 50s, 30s, 20s, things get rough. And this year, I think for a lot of people, it's also very interesting, right? We have this whole advent of AI. A lot of people are getting impacted by that. A lot of people are in this crossroads of figuring out what they want to do next, whether it is continuing to stay in corporate doing their own thing, or heck, just travel. And I think this panel, what we're going to do here is actually talking about those things about, like, you know, how do you go through those mindsets? How do you figure where and what you want to do in your life? And then two is if you do decide to do entrepreneurship or going off and doing your own thing and creating your own brick and mortar stores, like all the vendors over here, they did something. They decided that this was what they wanted to do. We're going to talk about that. So I am going to not introduce myself yet. I'm going to let the speakers come up on stage, and we will have everyone introduce themselves.
I don't know what's the
What's the order?
What's the order?
Ooh, let's see what the order.
Oh,
Ooh,
okay.
that's the order.
Order of operations.
Yep.
Awesome. So, like I said, I'm not going to introduce myself because I'll give a little bit more about my background.
Sure.
But we're going to go kind of in order, but opposite.
Yeah.
We're going to start with Zeus.
Let's do
All right.
The one that's going to pick us off and start off. So, I want everyone to introduce themselves, tell a little bit about yourself, and a little bit about your story,
Okay.
and then we're going to get to the real stuff.
All right. I'm Zeus. I just came back from Japan 2 days ago, so I'm a little bit jet lagged, but I think I'm going to perform today. I'm here because I got invited by my friends at Asia Inc. And yeah, born and raised in San Francisco, half Japanese. My mom is Korean, Dutch, Filipino. So I'm multi-ethnic, a little confused sometimes. But I'm here today because I have a brand called Key Electrolytes, which is a hydration system made in Japan. And we're here to kind of boost brain performance, more or less kind of like create happiness, productivity, and focus. So very simple system. So I'm here today to kind of be here to kind of chat more about our panel.
Awesome. Next, Earl.
Hello. What was it? Hello.
Now it's going.
Oh, mic's going on, right? Hello, everybody. I'm Earl. So born in LA, grew up in Manila in the Philippines till third year college, and then moved to the US to take up electrical and then aerospace engineering. So I don't know who's an aerospace engineer here. Shout out, right?
Wow.
And then
So niche.
ended up going to the Valley via Stanford Business School. Kind of an accident. I'll tell you more about that later on. So I ended up coming from a hardcore engineer to basically a business type of person, I guess. And then, kind of went through my career, was a venture capitalist, and then I went to big corporate in the financial service space. I worked with the hedge fund and a big brokerage firm for Charles Schwab down the street. And then I left, actually, my managing director role at Schwab to start a fintech company 3 months before COVID, right? So me and my co-founder, we were classmates in Stanford, and he's like, yeah, dude, we've been talking about this for a long time. Let's go start a company. That was November, I guess, 2019. And obviously March 2020 was COVID time. But, ultimately it was good. We exited the company 2 years ago, worked in Seattle for Microsoft for a bit, and now I work for Amazon in their venture capital partnerships team. So ex-founder, ex-VC, and I'm also invited to the panel because I also wrote a book on startup mindsets with a question that we asked, why should you even start a company in the first place? So more to come.
Awesome, man. Gina.
That's a good. I'm Gina Marco. I'm Filipino and American, born and raised in the Bay Area. My background is I used to be a dancer, running a dance company, running a 501c3 while I was a junior at Berkeley, to working in nonprofits, to then working at Google for 7 years. I was head of marketing events for the crazy running around, so I did all of those events. Fun to be in Waymo back in the day. Well, the internal code name was chauffeur, but that's too bougie. So, too obvious. Yeah. But yeah, worked at Google for 7 years and then spun off and started my own company called Make It Mariko. We're an events agency based here in Soma. We produce a lot of the local cultural festivals, corporate events, nonprofit galas, and non-traditional weddings.
And so,
Great.
hopefully, last but not least, my name is Jimmy Huang. So my day job, I'm a principal software engineer at Salesforce. As you all know a little bit earlier, I'm the founder and co-executive director of Asian Leaders Alliance. And I do a bunch of other stuff. I have my own tech consulting firm. I do a lot of the nonprofit stuff. I do real estate development investments, and I'm also an angel investor. So the interesting thing is we all do our shit. We all get shit done. But first, before we jump into this, I wanted to find out how many here, raise your hand if you work in corporate. All right, so about like 40-ish%. How many of you work on a non-corporate, you're not the owner, but you work for like a smaller company organization? So about a handful here. And how many of you all here have your own business, doing your own thing? Wow, that's a decent size.
That's very mixed.
That's
nice.
Awesome. So this is one of those things we're going to talk about these things because we're all in different places. Some people are still incorporated, some people do their own thing. So why don't we kick it off a little bit? My question for you all, and we all talked a little bit before, so we know what we're going to do. Actually, reality, we don't have the script actually. And I have this paper in my back. I haven't read it yet.
We're just gonna wing it.
So my question for you all, like, we're all doing different things. Why did you do, or going into what you did? I know some of y'all have your own companies, some of y'all wrote your own book. What drove you to do that? I don't know who wants to start.
All right, I guess I'll start. So for me, I run a company, so I was at Google, jobs. Google, one of my first cousins actually died. And so it's a perfect topic for what we're talking about today. He was literally 3 months younger than me. We grew up together, completely unexpected, did not see this coming at all. And it just for my entire family really changed our entire lives. And so from that day on, I basically said to myself, if I were to die tomorrow, would I be proud of the obituary that's going to be read at my funeral?
Right.
And that question ate at me for so long. And to be honest, like working at Google, living in San Francisco, being a Bay native, getting on the freaking Google shuttle every day to Mountain View, I was ashamed, to be honest. Like when people were protesting those buses, I was like, oh my God, you guys, I also run a nonprofit. It's not me, okay? And the answer to that question was no for me. I was not proud. I would not have been proud to die that way. And so I decided to change my life so that I could create a story that I was proud of. I could say, this is me and this is what I do and I believe in that, not some side butts, But I'm still cool, I swear. I'm community down. So I went about trying to change that and I decided, I knew that I loved events. I was doing so many events at Google. I was thriving at it and I wanted to do it full time. And so I figured out how to do that. But I didn't leave with this whole like, F you, turn the table over. It wasn't like that at all. I actually went part-time at Google first. They let me because I was good at my job. So I was able to convince them to let me work part-time. I started the company. I did that for 2 years until I had a steady amount of clients that I felt ready to leave. And that's when I quit. And side note, turn yourself into a vendor after you quit because then they just became a client. And so then I kept planning for Google as a client. So I took like a really paced way of starting my business.
I think, so for me, I've actually done something kind of double crazy. So I started 2 companies, but both of them involve doing something for the Philippines. So I went to Stanford. Funny, who has tiger parents here, by the way? Tiger parents? Tiger mom or tiger dad? So first I was in Raytheon, which is a big aerospace company. And then during the time, I actually won, like it's called the New Faces of Engineering, which is like top 10 engineers of the US under 30. And then I got to Stanford. And then I told my mom, guess what? I'm gonna quit my corporate job to go to Stanford GSP. And she looked at me and said, I would be okay if you went to Harvard, but why would you go to Stanford? And I was like, okay, that's fine, right? So obviously that's fine. Afterwards, so again, this is part one of the story.
Stanford's closer to Philippines.
Yeah, part of the story after Stanford, and then I was in Cisco's internal venture team, and then I was in the Philippines for my best friend's wedding, and I got to meet the CEO of the private equity firm that owned the largest telecom company in the Philippines. And we were there having, I guess, brunch or something. And he asked me two questions. The first question was, I just got offered a part of either the Kings or the Hawks. What should I buy? So that was an interesting question. But the second question that he asked me, which related to what you said, is, Earl, what do you really want to do? And I told him, if I wrote in my Stanford letter, my Stanford admission letter, when I'm 60 years old, I wanted to invest in ideas for emerging markets. And he looked at me in the eye. What does that mean? It's like, oh, maybe when I'm 60, I want to be Minister of Science and Technology of an emerging market like the Philippines. And he told me, like, nobody wants that job. Right? But I like what you're saying. So if I'm going to give you an offer right now. I was on vacation, by the way. If I give you $12 million today, would you come back to the Philippines and do this thing that you want to do so you don't have to wait till you're 60? And so, I came back to the US, told my wife who was pregnant with her second baby, guess what, we're moving to the Philippines. She's like, I did not expect that, but okay, give me 6 months to at least have our second son born, right here in Redwood City, in Sequoia Hospital. But that tells the story of you have to be ready, you have to know. In fact, that was the outcome of the research of the books. You don't have to buy my book, but I think, whatever. If you want to buy the book, sure, whatever.
So kind,
Support a fellow Asian.
so kind.
But the summary, if you want a summary, is we interviewed hundreds of series, basically venture-funded founders at Series B and below. Because a lot of the stories you hear in TechCrunch are like exits. But people actually, they don't know the real story of early stage founders, especially most of them are, interviewed are Asian. We just asked one question. If you fail at this company, would you regret it? And guess what? 100% of people said, if I worked on something that means something to me, I'll never regret it. 100% of all the founders we interviewed. Crazy, right? So that's something that people should reflect on today is, what is that? If you're asked a question right in front of you today and said, would you quit your job? I'll fund you today. What would you say? Right?
Wow. I was at a corporate job in finance, and I was doing well financially, but I was 60 pounds heavier. I was probably drinking like 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day just to keep alive, and happy hours were like a normal thing.
Oh.
In my mind, I'm like, oh, network to go get business, but actually it was more like escapism, just to like deal with life. And I felt like, that was normal. But I was not happy, and I had COVID actually kind of helped, right? COVID made everyone stop and kind of think about, oh, what the hell are we doing? So I, kind of looked inside and said, okay, I need to kind of change some things. So I kind of looked into like all these, Asian health techniques on just how to better yourself. And funny enough, we had that mental talk before, right? The panelists, and yeah, it really starts with the brain, right? But then I realized actually everything I was doing in my lifestyle was contributing to dehydration. And that was when I was like, oh my God, that's it. When you're dehydrated, it literally hits your brain. Your brain shrinks, right? Like your brain shrinks anywhere from 1% to 3%, and that's actually quite significant. And that happens, if that happens every day, that is really horrible, right? And so that affects everything, your mood, your focus, your relationships, your performance at work. You don't want to go to the gym, you're just lazy, it affects everything. And so I discovered in Japan, they have this ancient, very simple technique. They do this every morning, right? They drink water with electrolytes. And yeah, from there, it's not that this method changed my life immediately, but the positive compounding effect, it gave me the energy to want to change my life. So it made me want to go to the gym. It made me want to write that email. It made me want to be like sharp in that meeting. Like it was everything, right? Be the best person for my friends and family. So that's how it started. And then from there, I have some friends in the back. I used one of my friends as a guinea pig, a close friend of mine, Dr. Ray, one of the best spine doctors in the world, in my opinion. I got him involved with, getting into the hydration protocol and everything else. And, it helped you, right? It made you sharper, you got leaner. It just creates this momentum. And so for me, I just feel like it didn't start as a business, but I'm like so passionate about just helping people get that momentum going. Whatever you do in life, it's all about create that momentum, right? And it's so simple. It only takes a couple of minutes every morning. So that's kind of my short little story.
So I realize I'm the only non-Filipino person here on stage. So
it was by design. It wasn't by
It's about the heart, Jimmy. It's about the heart.
I'm going to be an honorary Filipino.
Let's just go to Q&A right now.
But one of the things that I want to ask you all, right? And not that we're all Filipino, but we're all Asian. We all have cultural, we have, family expectations, as you heard from the earlier panel and such. How did it affect your decisions on what you decided? How did it impact how you made your decision or how you approached it? I mean, I think we all here experience some level of pressure, whether it's from the family or the culture or numerous other things. And it's not just because we're Asian. Keep in mind, other communities do experience some of these things, but we just have a unique combination. That's a question for you all.
I can start. I mean, I didn't have the traditional parents. What did you say, tiger mom, tiger dad?
Yeah.
I had the opposite, right? My dad was a cowboy from day one. He came to this country with like $200, total traditional American dream story, right? And he's Japanese, which is even more funny because they're all about, the system. But growing up, just watching that, he always inspired me to just do whatever the hell you want, make mistakes, but then you know what? You're gonna get it finally, right? Just keep going. And so I had the liberty to at least have that, how do you say, untraditional way of, I didn't have that issue, in other words. So I was lucky.
So you're like the 10% of Asians.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, so I was talking to my wife maybe like a couple of years ago, and I told her like I don't understand myself because for some odd reason I feel I'm meant for something bigger, right? And because sometimes she's like, her dad used to run Citibank in the Philippines. She's like, why can't you just be like a normal banker, right? And I'm like, no, I don't know why, right? But knowing, that, being Asian, I was, I said like, I have to think about family responsibility. And then how do I think about my dreams and goals, right? It's kind of like my own maybe mental model. So I wanted to start a company since, even after the GSP, but I always said like, one time I have to be ready. So I'll tell you a practical thing that I did, but it doesn't mean that everybody has to do. But what I did, which maybe some of you might want to do, is that every paycheck from 28 to 34, I put into, I call it my startup fund. So that at some point, I said, if I find that thing, the passion, the idea, I can say that I can at least feed my wife and my kids and the mortgage for 6 to 12 months. Right? And that's practical, right? Like I don't want to call here like quit your job, do whatever, but because I didn't do that, I said I need to at least know that during this experimentation time, I take care of the people that I'm responsible for. So which is a bit contrarian, but at least that's something maybe some of you will have to encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting as, even for me, the ironic part is when I started deciding what my career was as a computer science major, my family actually didn't want me to do that. This was back in the days where engineering was not one of the Asian things that you pick.
What should you be?
They wanted me to do business.
Wow.
They wanted me to go to business school.
Not even lawyer or doctor?
It was business first, lawyer second.
Wow.
Oh.
So, because my family came from an entrepreneurship background, so they owned businesses, did the stuff. And then when I said that I wanted to be a computer scientist, a software engineer, they're like, what, you're going to be in the basement? Like, get like, what, 70K a year?
What?
Well, actually, no, now I'm on like the 22nd floor with sunlight, but I'm still doing the same work. but at the end of the day, it's the thing is that for me, it was like, you know, I love and I enjoy this, and I don't, and this is one thing I'm proud of. I went into computer science, software engineering, not because of the money, because there was no money at the time. Like I decided this in like around 97, right before the dot-com boom.
Perfect timing, man.
But I was like, I want to do this as a major. I go to college. I want to do this because I can see my impact. A piece of software that could help make people. And for me, it was always about the impact. I would still do this job if I got paid 70% less like right now. It's because of the impact I think I can do. But like that was hard. My family like really walked his mind, like making me feel guilty of picking the wrong option.
So literally all of these stories tell you is like your family is gonna be disappointed regardless of what you choose, right? Or oh, we're a cowboy and you're gonna do this. Why? Like they're always gonna be that way. So you really just need to know what you want and feel comfortable with that and confident that when you figure it out, hopefully they'll come around. And you know, mine did. They weren't at first, but once they see, they just want you to be cool. So if you just figure it out and you're cool, they'll come around. And if not, it's fine. Like, love them and just bless you, you know?
I mean, the one thing I want to call it, like right there. So typically the biggest pivot where family, community typically normally questions you is when you pivot your career. So what happened with y'all, like your career pivot? I know we talked a little bit about that, and there was concerns with your family.
Yeah.
You want to touch a little base?
I mean, it's just like, why? Why are you gonna do that? Are you gonna be okay? You know, what about your stock? Like all the things, your benefits. Oh no, you know, they're just scared for you. Like when that happens, it's not that they're like against what you're trying to do. They're just worried for you because they want you to be taken care of. So if you really want to do whatever you want to do, you just have to be like, you know what? I hear you. I see your worry. Thank you for loving me and worrying about me. I believe in myself and I'm going to do this. And if you can't say that in your gut and feel it, then maybe you're not ready either. If you're going to allow those people to convince you otherwise,
Actually,
then
that's a
maybe
good
you
point.
need to go do a little bit more work on yourself until you can say that with confidence.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, just to your point, just whatever you want to do, you have to have that conviction, right? Yeah. You shouldn't let anyone else give you the idea that you shouldn't do it, even your own family. Yeah. So that is the challenge. But if you really truly believe that you have something going, it can be lonely, right? When you start off something, especially in the beginning. I think that's the next question, right? Am I jumping the gun a little bit?
No, we're supposed to flow, man.
What question?
Come on, we're flowing.
Flow. But yeah, I think, just that is a challenge, right? Just, you got to know what you want, and if you like it, just go for it, and, you know, you really have to believe in it, right?
I'll share something though that is important because it's hard, right? So in both, but many times that exactly from stable to unstable, right? That point. A lot of people that most of the time you'll ask people like, hey, what do you think, right? That most of the time they'll try to dissuade you from the things because it's out of love, it's out of care, and out of concern, right? I had a one-on-one with my mom and my dad when I started my second company, and they're like, okay, sure, right? But it's really, they want you to succeed, but their formula, their mental model in their mind It's just that, right? That they don't want you to fail. They want to be sure that you are going to be successful. So in both times, almost everybody, my parents and others said, what are you doing? What are you doing? Except, this is crazy, except for my classmates in Stanford. And we can replicate this, by the way. So for example, hey, by the way, I'm gonna, go build a venture capital fund in Southeast Asia. Everybody says, why leave Silicon Valley? You're already here. And my Stanford friends, dude, that's what you wrote when you were 24 years old, right? Everything, right? Same thing when I wanted to start my, my first startup. Some of the first angel investors were my classmates. And I'm not saying you have to go to a school like that, but I'm saying is that the power of a community that believes in you is so important.
100%.
That's why, all the communities here, Asian Leaders Alliance, HAN, NAP, etc. Like, we have to support the people that takes the biggest risk because it is hard, right? So that's something that I would encourage all of us is that if you see somebody and they say founder, entrepreneur, just say, how you doing? How can I help you, right?
And I appreciate you creating a gang, right? Like this is what it is. When the outside doesn't understand what you're doing, you gotta go with the misfits, right? You gotta join the misfits, and that's why we're here today, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you said it perfectly.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask is, like, and I've heard this in my community.
Yeah.
How do you create that?
I'll answer this one. It didn't exist when I started, so I built it. So when I became an entrepreneur, I only knew 3 other Filipino women entrepreneurs. Erin was one of them. And 2 other women that I knew, and that was it. So I had coffee with every single one of them. Just like, what's up? How'd you do it? What should I know? And then so I created it. So I created a community called Pinaista. It's a Pinay entrepreneur community. It's going 5 years, 6 years strong now. We have an annual summit, and now it's like thriving. There's like a ton more Filipino entrepreneurs. I didn't see myself in the Filipino community. I didn't think I was like Filipino enough because I grew up here. I'm hella Bay, hella hip hop. So I created something. So
in other words, she was hella cool.
Pretty. I think so. Well, I built a Filipino night market called Undiscovered SF with a nonprofit here called Cultivate Labs. And I built a community that looked like me, which was Filipinos who love hip hop. And that is now thriving. And now there's hella more Filipino entrepreneurs like in the world, and Filipino food is thriving. Back then there was only Senior Sisig in the Bay, and now you see ube freaking everywhere. So if it's not there for you, just build it. Build it and see who comes, and surround yourself with those people. Like, you cannot keep yourself surrounded by people who are like putting you down, always killing your ideas, saying they don't believe in you. Like, you are never gonna get where you wanna go if you surround yourself with those people. So find people who are going, not like, puff you up in a way that's like fake, but that are gonna be like, you could do this. Like, what's your next step? That believe in you. You really need to surround.
All right, so I have one more question before we start doing Q&A.
Sure.
So I heard a theme here between at least 2 of y'all, traveling. Like, you all went somewhere and something happened.
Ooh.
And so I kind of want to touch base on that.
I think if you want to, I guess we talked about this earlier, right? Just think outside the box. I think traveling is the best education outside the classroom. You almost have to force yourself. Let's say you go to a country where they can't speak English, right, at least. Back in the day, before, I always traveled. My father had businesses around the world, and so as a kid, it was normal for me to go to different countries. But, even when I was traveling by myself as an adult, back then we didn't have, we're old enough to say this, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have internet. There was no freaking GPS, right? No, ChatGPT, translator. So like, you literally had to go, and if you're hungry, body language like this, like you gotta do whatever it takes, right? But it gives you that training to to have to make it happen, to deal with all types of people. But then at the same time, especially with my business, it was inspired in Japan. And so the point is like, when you travel, you just explore things and just things happen, right? And that's where you need to go, I think. Just having that exploration mindset. That's a good way to start, actually. So.
Yeah, it reminds me. So my dad went to business school in Japan, and he always told me one thing, which is the Minister of Trade or Tourism gave a talk at the university called Sophia, and the minister said, if you love your kids, make them travel. And my dad carried that out and all these things, and kind of made us kind of at least understand the world. And the reason is that you realize that, you know, the world is not your just locality, but then it's just much bigger. And at the same time, best practices might not be in your own area, right? It might be somewhere else. So that sometimes is the arbitrage opportunity, right? Of like getting something from somewhere else and then bringing it to where you are, because you just know that you have both worlds with you, right? So that's something to think about, but I echo exactly what you said. It just gives me flashbacks of, you know, right after grad school, actually, when I was in Stanford, me and my buddies from school got lost in Russia. And it's a funny story, so super quick, 30 seconds.
Russia's not that dangerous.
At the time, there was no taxis, so you have to literally hail something, hail a car, and hopefully it stops, and tell them where to bring you, right? The problem is they gave us these cards to say Holiday Inn Moscow, right? All of us forgot the card, right? Ooh. So we came to this car and we're like, you know, Holiday Inn, and then it's like Russia, and then we just kept on saying Holiday Inn in English. And my friend who's from Mexico started talking in Spanish, and he's like, dude, he doesn't understand you. He doesn't understand you too, right? So, but then there was a little point in time where like, are we gonna survive, right? But then ultimately he asked someone else right from the street. It's like, what is he talking about? And then he's like, okay, I understand. So that moment is like the pure microcosm of what entrepreneurship is, which is like little daily near corporate death experiences, right? And saying, is this today the last day of my company? But you do survive, right? So that's just an analogy that maybe people would appreciate.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah. That to Beijing. And I didn't even have a smartphone, and like, people were just there.
Jimmy can speak, guys.
A little bit, but it took me, I think I was looking for a cab at 1 a.m. I didn't get back to, I was sitting at a hospital. Yeah, I didn't get back until 5 a.m. I was like at least 100 cabs being like, well, yeah, sure. And they're just like, what the hell are you talking about? So one of the things I wanted to point out, the reason that's really important, I think, as you heard touch bases, is like being an entrepreneur or even being in corporate, it's about thinking differently, right? It's not one way of doing the right thing, because we here in America have a tendency that this is the way we do it and this is the right way to do it. It's not that in reality. Different parts of the world do this, accomplish the same thing different ways. And we have to be very exposed and open to that and understand it. And sometimes you just got to feel uncomfortable. And I think that's one thing for traveling, is that there's enough enticement for a lot of us to see things, eat good food, and risk feeling uncomfortable while trying to accomplish it.
It's almost like it builds your problem-solving skills at a higher level, right? Because you're just like, it's a do or die, you know, right? Every time.
You're not going to get back to your hotel, man. All right, so we're almost running out of time, and I want to make sure to give you all opportunity to ask them, because we just like touched the surface level of this. And I'm pretty sure there's other things that they have to share. So anyone have any questions for our panelists here? All right. I am going to run this way. I'm going to be a runner for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Great panel. I'm Dr. Reyes. This is first guinea pig. So I've never worked in corporate. I know that I wouldn't like it. I don't know why. I know that I wouldn't like it. But you guys have all worked in corporate, and then you transitioned to your own entrepreneurial
about? Because I don't know for myself, I don't know why this is, I haven't really been able to figure it out. What is it about corporate versus doing something for yourself or doing something on your own that was more appealing, less appealing, or whatever it was that made you transition, make that transition?
Good question.
Yeah, that's such a good question.
Good question.
I know.
So to repeat the question for
Yeah.
those here online, is between corporate and doing your own thing, like what, I guess, like what was the thing that gave you the benefit value? Like what was the difference? Like why? So essentially, like, why did this?
I mean, like every job is like a choice. You're choosing to contribute towards something, building something. And like, I wouldn't have stayed at Google. Google X was really my team for 7 years if I didn't like it. You know, so I did really enjoy it. I learned skills from it. It was fun. It was crazy. So I stayed as long as I did. But was it my passion? Was it the community that I wanted to build and dedicate my life to? No. So it was fun. I learned a lot, but it just like, to me, didn't hit my heartstrings the way that I was like, this is what I was put on this earth to do. So there was always this like something in my gut that was like, this ain't it. Like, this isn't my end goal. And so I want to listen to that and like find something else. But yeah, it was fun. The perks are great. You know, it's like, it's not like it's a bad job. So it just wasn't that heart thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm actually in corporate now.
He boomeranged to another corporate.
But I, but it's interesting because I'm like interfacing every day with founders and venture capitalists, which then, it reminds me of my entrepreneurial day. And I think in corporate, there's two benefits, right? Like one is best practices. I mean, like, Amazon, started out as a idea, and then now it's a multi-trillion-dollar company, and then they replicated it in helping more and more companies become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just understand that the best practice, to be honest, makes you a better entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right? For example, when I was in doing a fintech, if I didn't work at the hedge fund, which is Bridgewater and Charles Schwab, I don't think I'll be a good fintech founder, as good.
Yep.
So you have to also understand that there is benefit there. I'll give another controversial stance though on the corporate side, which is people go to corporate sometimes with the illusion of, I call it stability. But I think we're going to an era where corporate is probably as unstable as starting a company. So just reflect on that,
crazy.
because the world is different compared to your parents, my parents.
That is crazy.
Where, so just think about it. So when you go to a corporation, even if you're in a company, the question that I want you to ask is, what do I want to learn from this experience so that at some point in the future, I can use that for something even within this company, making myself more valuable. So that's the challenge I want to ask to people who are still in corporate.
Yeah. We talked about this, right? I mean, the biggest fear right now is AI taking our jobs. So I think one of the reasons we're here is to inspire people to, you got to start fending for yourself now, right? And you can. Actually, the tools we have today, it's like, ironically, AI taking over your job, but you can also leverage AI to create your own thing too. So yeah, I mean, right, now's the time to kind of do that.
One of the things is learn on their dime. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, use AI to help you learn how to think for yourself.
All right. So one last question.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, this is Erin from Pastor. First of all, I'm an author of a book called Creating Augmented Virtual Realities, and Earl is the author of Startup Mindsets and the co-host of that podcast. So please, please, please buy Asian and Filipino. Don't just say get it on like Amazon or like Google Scholar for free or whatever. Like buy it. Okay. Second thing is question about the common thing we say is fail fast. And I've been thinking a lot about my last venture. I was trying to build a $100 million venture. That's really very hard, okay? But the fear was because I couldn't figure out how to make money. It was because I wasn't taking care of myself. And over the last 5 years, I'm now also on a mission. And Totally over 12 years. So shout out to Filipino healers. That's great. Question: how do you manage failure? So I know Earl Berryville is one of our faster advisors. He exited his company. Some people will say a startup is not successful because they didn't go public, or they actually didn't make the investors back money, so they're an acqui-hire, so they didn't really succeed. Or like, oh well, so and so didn't pay their staff during whatever, during COVID, where it's really hard and the business is shut down. How do you frame your definitions of success in a startup? When do you quit, and how do you define failure?
Good question.
I mean, to me, failure is just like stopping. Like, if you keep getting, this is what it is about entrepreneurs. Like, you have to be cool with like getting pushed down and getting back up, like constantly, like every day. And then you have to be okay with that. If you're not okay with that, don't become an entrepreneur, because it's freaking crazy. And it's like, literally, you're like, do I have enough money for payroll this week? How's the cash flow? Do we have enough sales? Like, sometimes I look on LinkedIn and I look at jobs and I'm like, wow, what I could be making. What I could be making, man. But then I'm like, but do I want that job, So you just have to be okay with failure. And as an Asian American who grew up, I call myself a recovering perfectionist, because it is a disease and I'm in recovery. So I'm getting used to being like, it is absolutely not going to be perfect. It's going to be messy, and getting used to that and accepting it, and then just pushing forward regardless is like how it just has to be.
Yeah. I guess for me, success and failure is really up to you. It's not up to anyone else, right? I mean, for at least me, and my reflection is that there's only 100 years to live, give and take. If you don't try something that means something to you, then is that a failure, right? Something you have to ask yourself. Is that a failure for you and your ethos and your gift to the world? So that's really a challenge that I think I pose to you right now is, what is success and failure to you? Not success and failure to someone else, your family, your parents, society, etc., all these things, right? And I mean, it's a practical thing. So again, we sold our company, it wasn't an IPO, but we got the silver medal, which is an exit into a large company. And, I met my lead investor, maybe like 6 months after. And the first thing I said, because I'm Asian, I said, I'm really sorry, I wasn't a blockbuster, right? And guess what he said, which was so inspiring. He's like, don't worry, dude, I'll back you still anytime. So I realized that people also respect someone who went for it. So why
the bravery.
Right. And I think that's what it is, right? Surround yourself with people who believe in you. My co-founder, Noah, she's not here today, but she's like my ride or die, right? So whatever we go, up or down, it doesn't matter. I got my friends back there that support me, so it's really about the people. It's all about, to me, it's about, it's relationships at the end of the day, right? And so I think that's what carries you. It doesn't matter where you go, but you got the people with you, then it's good whichever way it goes, right?
Yep.
And failure is a part of the startup community, right?
Yeah.
So actually, in fact, you should fail, right?
You should.
That's how you learn.
Yeah.
That's how you learn.
But you know what Jason said in the opening? I was like, did I say this? I was like, okay, yeah. I really love how he said, like, you're really just competing with yourself. So for me now, where I'm at, like, I'm 10 years in business, like, I just want to be better than who I was last year. And I want to learn from those mistakes I made 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And if I keep getting better, then I'm kicking ass in this life right now, so.
Yeah, so you hear a lot of great things here. They're saying a lot of stuff, and this is their lived experience. Doesn't necessarily will be yours,
Yeah.
but this is where we learn from each other's experiences, because this is the possibilities. And about to grow, you have to learn the possibilities. One thing I'll say before we close up, or I close up because we're grossly over time, is don't regret. Okay, one thing for me is what I've learned, and I'm gonna be a little personal here, like I've had one of my biggest regret was not visiting my grandmother when she called me before I didn't even know she was gonna die. But then I was like, oh no, I'll go visit next time. I'm too busy with work and stuff like that. And or I was afraid something was happening and I didn't go visit her. And then when she passed away, that was my biggest regret. And the thing for me, it was, when I learned through this, it was, you don't regret when you know you're gonna do something or not. So if I said that I was not gonna visit my grandmother, that was one thing. But the thing is, the fact is, I kept on going back and forth on it. I was like, oh man, I should really go visit her, but work's busy, and this, and I think when you decide, like doing a startup, doing anything, don't regret. You could fail. You probably will fail. But the thing is, what's worse? Not taking that risk, or the fact that you live with the regret of not taking that risk. And so that's one of the things I want to leave off the ball. One of the other things I'm going to leave off that we saw earlier about community. And as you see, the communities up here on the promotional partners, those hosts, these are communities. Join Master, join the Asian Leaders Alliance, get involved with Asian Hospitality. All these groups are opportunities for you to find communities. If that community doesn't fit you, that's fine. Go look for another community. Bridge communities. And so I'm going to do that plug. Join ALA. Go to AsianLeadersAlliance.com. You'll start workspace. A lot of these communities, Faster, Asian, other organizations, they're all part of that. And the whole point of us is to find our communities. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much. Give everyone a round of applause up here. And if you want to talk to any of the speakers here, most of us are going to go to the after party after this. So you should join, have some drinks, have some good conversations, and create those communities. Thank you.
Awesome.
We're going to kick it over to Kim, so she could.
Oh, yes. Oh, here?
Good job. Good job. Oh, and then let's trade numbers. Let's have a coffee before, yeah? Of course. Yeah.
From Karina again, and just a heads up, I don't know if anyone's here to see Catherine today. Catherine's already supposed to close.
I haven't done this much, but you do this bump.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You leave?
You guys are talking live stream.
Just. Oh my god, you're so funny. Okay. Hello. They're doing the closing. Closing. Little lips. Oh yeah. Conversation. All right. Thank you so much, Karina. And all right, I mean, we're almost to the end of our program. Let me switch this real quick. So thank you so much for everyone to coming to Rooted and Rising today. This is always such a fun event for the team to put on every year. I wanted to give a huge shout out to the venue. I think the venue team's actually, you know, keeping everything going out up in front. So shout out to the INSEAD team. I want to welcome our organizing team onto the stage. Ramon, Tiffany, Jimmy, and we have one more as well. His name's Brian Pang with Asian Hustle Network and Asian Leaders Alliance. And unfortunately, he couldn't be here with us today, but we would like to, this is also like our photo time. So this is gonna be us, you know, announcing everyone. So please bear with us. We can crop Brian in. So center. Oh, leave room for Brian.
Yeah, Ryan right here.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute. All right, thank you, Sean. All righty. Yes.
Jason, come join and take a picture.
And then Jason, our keynote for a
Let's give him a
photo
round
as
of
well.
applause.
Yes. Do you want to be in the middle, Jason? Let's get you into the middle.
Yeah, it is. Bozo.
Ready?
One
One
more.
more,
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And a shout out to our organizing organizations, Asian Inc., Asian Leaders Alliance, INSEAD, Asian Hustle Network, and Anise Health. Oh, my slides. Yes, you're right. Oh my goodness. Let me kind of go back. This is our main organizing team. Shout out our organizing organizations. Shout out to Asian Inc. If you guys like comedy, please come out to our event. We have a bunch of crazy, great comedians in our lineup at the end of the month. We hope to see you there. This is a collaboration between us, Asian Inc., and another organization in the Bay Area called AAPI, Asian Americans Donor Program. Exactly. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. They focus on matching stem cell donors to the right patients. Shout out to Asian Leaders Alliance, join the Slack. Hope to see you guys on the Slack server. And sign up for the INSEAD SF Hub newsletter. Once upon a time, I used to be the one writing these newsletters. And shout out to Anise Health. All right, and thank you to our anonymous sponsor. Is it okay if I say who our anonymous sponsor is? Yes, Jimmy. So you guys may or may not have caught it in his intro. He does a lot for the community. I met Jimmy a number of years ago, sometime in my community organizing years. And he's just been so amazing. And he's the reason why why this event is happening on the financial spectrum. So thank you. Yes, so we're getting there. And thank you so much to our promotional partners, Faster, NAP SF, TAP, SF, Asian Mental Health Project, CAPS, Kindred Curiosity, Young Filipino Professional Association. Did I get that right? Hell yeah, okay. RAMS, PBPSF, shout out to our volunteers, Amari Health, APA Family Support Services, and Spice
Okay. Let me see. And then overall, just kind of to run through it, huge thank you to our keynote, Jason, performer Karina, our panelists, Cherry, Crystal, Bernie, Naomi, on our API leaders panel, Gina, Earl, and Zeus. A huge shout out to our vendors. Please still shop. Vendors, please don't pack up yet because I want to buy stuff from you guys. Elevated Gemstones, Jane Candle Co., Oasis, Olivia, Tom Hulu, Torna Jafer. Thank you so much, and a huge shout out to all of our volunteers today from Visa Vast ERG as well as PVPSF. And a huge shout out to our food caterer, Davao, Singapore. I love the team so much. And I actually might have kind of went through all of this. We would love to see you guys at the after party around the corner at Woodbury. Please come through. You can or cannot scan through this QR code, I don't know, but still show up. It is literally around the corner, and we are so happy to see you over there afterward. And thank you so much for coming. I hope you guys have like amazing takeaway from this event, whether it's inspiration from our speakers, you got a new goodie from our vendors, or a new connection from someone that you met today. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. AADP, Asian American